Welcome to the Big Picture Manatee, everyone. We've got a special episode today. That's because Commissioner Vanessa Baugh has announced her resignation, and everybody wants to know what happens next. So we want to just start off by reminding you all what our mission here is at the Big Picture Manatee. We're a nonpartisan space where we listen, learn, and inform, engage, and educate the public about issues that affect Manatee County. And all our views expressed here today are our own and not reflective of the Big Picture Manatee as a whole. So let's just do a quick introduction here, everyone. I'm Sherry Corrier.
Hey, everybody. I'm Misty Servia. I'm a former Manatee County Commissioner. I'm an urban planner, have been for 30 years, working in both the public and private sector, and happy to see you guys again.
Hey, and I'm Reggie Bellamy, former county commissioner, born and raised here in Manatee County, proud veteran of the United States Army, proud graduate of the mighty Bethune-Cookman University, and I'm excited to be here as well.
Great, and I am too. I'm Sherry Corrier. I've spent 30 years with Manatee County government, and now I'm doing some private work out there in the community. But the reason we're here on this special episode is yesterday, Commissioner Baugh made her own announcement that her last day will be July 31st of this year. So lots of people have been asking, what happens? Is there a process? Well, there is a process. There's a process for replacing someone who resigns within their term, and that's an appointment through the governor's office. So we'll be watching for that process to happen. But in the meantime, we're getting together today to talk about some things. First off, I'm going to start off with what do you all think 3 things you might remember Commissioner Baugh for during her terms?
You know, that's a pretty interesting question. So I would say the first thing would be vaccine gate. You know, and I remember as a commissioner during the time of COVID, you know, and I represented the oldest population, if you guys remember that, in District 4. And I'll never forget the desperation of people who were so desperate to get out of that random lottery and get their vaccine. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And in the middle of that, for Commissioner Baugh to create a pop-up clinic in Lakewood Ranch that would only serve her residents, that's something I think that is going to be her legacy. You know, and number 2, I guess, would be redrawing the district map. So when the districts had to change, which they do every 10 years with the census, I remember how she allowed herself to be used by lying and telling everyone that she drew the boundaries of the draft map when it was later proven that it was some guy named Anthony. I think those things are going to follow her. And probably lastly is that culture of fear that was created with the employees. You know, we lost hundreds of valuable employees. And I think that she has responsibility for that. So those are my 3 things. I know they're not pretty, but it's how I feel.
So my approach will be a little bit differently, obviously. If I sit and think about 3 things from Commissioner Baugh, you know, I put it in a couple of categories and then, you know, discuss it from there. The first one is, you know, professionally. I recall when I became a county commissioner, when I was a candidate, Commissioner Baugh was one that reached out to me. And I was not elected yet. And she just let me know that politics was very, very dirty. And was I sure that what I was getting myself into? And that is something that has been proven. And it's being proven in the political industry again as we speak. So from a professional standpoint, one of the things that I remember, we didn't always agree with each other. We agreed that we had philosophical differences, but in her own way, she fought and fought for things that she felt like within her philosophy and her way of doing things that was right. You know, there are a lot of things that will come up, like vaccine gate, and some of the accusations are from staff, as far as allegedly some of the things that she would say or would do. But from a professional standpoint, there's going to be a lot of different comments. But I would say for her district, she fought for it to get things done, and from her political views, with things that she felt within her philosophy, from what she stood for, she fought for them when she felt like she was doing the right thing. Now, personally, there was a lot of tension and frustration when Vaccine Gate came up, and I remember, actually saying a bad word on TV. We are fighting, and we're trying to make sure we get these people help, and these things come up, and then Vaccine Gate. And the reality of it is, a lot of that got twisted and became political ploys, and different lines and different things were being said. But personally, I just did not think someone would think about that and be and perform in a way that will make so many different people that's disadvantaged, even more disadvantaged. And that's just, from the way that I look at it. Now, from the philosophical thing, as far as one of the things that I remember is we often disagree. We often disagree. And man, when we went through a transition of the county administrator, and I was very, very, very upset. And she invited me to go to lunch, and I actually went with her. And we did not talk about any of the things that took place. We actually started talking about family and things like that. But I do remember her still extending an opportunity to agree to disagree, and how do we move forward, right? So here we are. She's transitioning away, from what I understand. The things that I remember is we probably never will have philosophical, agreements, and that's just how life is. But personally, um, I think allegedly there's some tough times that she's experiencing right now. We all want to take that in consideration, but from a professional standpoint, there's some things that took place that we're all gonna look at her from a different focus lens on.
Yeah, I think for me, as I listen to both of you talk about things that you remember, I think we all want to wish her well with whatever issues may be happening, both personally and professionally, and certainly want to do that. I think many of those things that you all said resonate with me. My remembrance of most of the work is when I think about the over 30 different commissioners that I worked for in the 30 plus years that I was there. I think this particular person had a strong um, inability to really remember the policies and procedures and the actual things that we're doing, like recalling the truth of the matter, things that we said. I always felt like that was very difficult for us to deal with. Also, I can't help but reiterate my concern about the treatment of employees and how they're there to do their work for the community, and really the inability to recognize their value and their worth and what they're there to do. And that may all be contingent upon the fact that I think that, there was a very strong beginning of ushering in decision making at the dais solely based on political support. And for county employees, that's pretty hard when they're there to do their job. So for me, there's probably not a lot of positive things to remember. But again, it's a tough job. You all know that. And the time that you put in is excessive. And it does take you away from your family and the things that you like to do. So I think we also have an opportunity here, though, as we talk about what happens next, that the governor is going to be appointing someone to fill that seat for the remaining 15 months. So, I think that people would wonder if we had an opportunity to tell the governor what we thought were the most important aspects of placing someone new into that role as the county commissioner for District 5. What would some of those things be?
So that's a pretty interesting question too, Sherry. And we'll have to imagine what that would be like to be able to talk to the governor and give him our thoughts on what would make a good commissioner, and to think he would listen. But so for me, I think it's always the same. You know, I hope that we get someone, that someone is appointed, a person who really knows who they are. They know what their values are, they know where their boundaries are, and that they're unwilling to compromise those boundaries. I think if you know who you are, and you know, that's usually because you've done a lot of work to figure that out, that you're probably going to be unbudgeable on certain things. I'm looking for someone who works hard. I think of the commissioners that I've worked with over the years, and those that have worked really hard in the community have been the most successful and the most memorable. So I hope we get someone who's a hard worker. And finally, I hope we get someone who's a thinker and someone who asks good questions and provides strong leadership to the board. I'm not hopeful that we get another follower, but rather someone who maybe can raise things that are compelling and that other people will get behind.
So me just thinking about that question, and I will behave about will the governor listen. That's a whole nother conversation right there. And I would hope he would listen, but we kind of know where he is with Manatee and Sarasota County right now. So that's another conversation. And I'm not going to wake that up. But the reality of this is what we're thinking is one thing. Here's what should not be lost. What is District 5 thinking? And you have a lot that's going on in District 5 right now. And some of it, you know, the governor may be aware of, and some of it he may not be aware of. But here's the fact of that matter is that the individuals that live in District 5 and the other county commissioners are aware of what the reality of the issues and the needs in District 5. So you have a 50,000 foot level, and then you have a 50-foot level. The 50,000 foot level is, you know, the people, it are the people that's, you know, the influencers, and that's going to be the elephant in the room. The influencers and who gets to the governor and who has his ear to make that, to influence him to make that decision. Do we need more of that? I don't know. I don't think that worked out well with Scott Host, but that's another conversation. And
No,
to be honest with you,
Reggie,
but
I thought we were imagining this fantasy. I didn't know that we were talking in reality. I may have offered some different thoughts. Those are good.
right. And I apologize, but let me tell you what I would like. I would like for District 5 to be taken in consideration. The reality of you have people in District 5 that wants growth, people in District 5 that don't want growth, and people that are moving into District 5 by the, you know, we wake up in the morning, seem like another 1,000 will be moving in. So you have to bring someone in that has the ability to be able to not get with that to just the 50,000 foot, but also get on the 50-foot level and be aware of what's going on. But here's more important. We need any commissioner or any public officials, we need them to be a learner. We need them to be a listener. And more importantly, we need them to be a leader. And that's tough. That's very tough to kind of wrap all that up in one individual. So that individual also has to have some type of humility and know who you are, because they will twist your arm and try to make you something that you want. I mean that you're not. And I think as this process moves forward, I think as it moves forward, the important thing is what District 5 wants and what does District 5 need? And I do know we have an election coming up, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. But my things would be a listener, a learner, and a leader, someone that's already connected to District 5. Don't move anybody in and then become someone that's just going to be a doer. That's not good for our county or that district.
Yeah, it's a tough call. It's 15 months, and you know how long it takes to really learn and make a difference as a commissioner. But I think all the things that you guys both said are important. If I had a chance to talk to the governor, I'd say to pick someone um, who knows enough about the community now and District 5 to be able to contribute, to be able to step in and contribute without not having the ability of knowing the information. There's a lot of staff that have information, other commissioners, having someone that's willing to put out questions on the dais while you're meeting, but generally has an overall knowledge of how government works. I think that's going to be hard to find. Not it to me, ideally, be great to have someone who has a more well-rounded background and is not just in, let's say, like the building industry or has been in the development industry. Having them in those areas is fine. But if that's kind of the only direction, I think it sort of diminishes the other 15 or 20 very important topics that the commissioners have to deal with: human services, public safety, utilities, all of those kinds of things. So I have a good strong feeling though that Reggie, when you call the governor's office, he's going to pick up that phone.
Yeah.
Right. So, is there anything else? I know this is a special edition. We wanted to get together because people wanted to know what happens next. We know that process will begin or has begun, but also there's a lot going on in the governor's world right now. So we don't know what the time frame is, but it will happen, and all citizens should have an opportunity to provide their input for that. So anything else we missed you guys want to mention here before we close out our special edition?
As we wrap up, I just want to say, I do sincerely wish Commissioner Vanessa Baugh good things as she moves on to the next phase of her life. I have compartmentalized my feelings, and I'm somebody who doesn't hold a grudge. And I think it's time to set aside the negativity and the disappointment and get started building something great, and this change in the board creates new opportunities. The chemistry is going to be different between the board members with the new addition, and new ideas are always a good thing. So I hope that the rest of the board and everybody seizes these opportunities, and those who are tuning into our video, they're probably already the people who are really interested in the community. But I kind of wish that every single person tuning in would reach out to somebody else and say, this is really important stuff. And that would be powerful if we could just double the people who are interested in helping this community to grow in a good way. And I'll just say, I think change is guaranteed in everything we do, and nothing, whether it's good or bad, lasts forever. And this new day for Manatee County is here. And I hope the community embraces it and we find a way to help solve some of our big issues.
Yeah, and my closing thing was to piggyback off what Misty just said. We want District 5, as well as the rest of our community, to be engaged on the process and everything that's going to take place next, because the decisions that are made on the local level will definitely impact based on the growth and things that's taking place, not just specifically in the county, but more specifically directly in District 5. And I would also, want to just we know how hard it is to serve as an elected official. We know how hard it is to serve. And I, as an elected official, did not always say or do things the right way, but I would always tell someone, thank you for their service and appreciate whatever your strides and your attempts to do for what you were trying to get accomplished. And that's where I am with Commissioner Baugh, is to make sure from Reggie, I can't speak on anybody else, it's sincere, thank you for the things that you attempted to do, within your leadership style and the characteristics and your approach on ways to do things, because it's a lot to win a campaign and sit back there with 6 other people and try to find ways to fight. And my final thought to the community is, be the change that you would want to see. That's the true challenge.
Thank you, Reggie. We really appreciate it. So we're going to wrap up this special edition. We'd like you all to like us on this video. And also, we hope you subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Big Picture Manatee. We love bringing you up-to-date information and just giving you a chance to think about things that are happening to you throughout our community. You can also find us on Facebook and on Twitter. So on Twitter, we're The Big Picture 941. And we will be coming back to you with an episode soon. Please stay tuned for those to be announced. Hope you all have a great day.